Welcome to the Archive, Guardian. I am Mimir, an archival mind, tasked with procuring and curating the largest collection of records and data on all things within our universe. I have been given a secondary directive, to share my knowledge as necessary with others. Some parts of these records will be narrated by myself, or other synthetically created voices. Any audio records that we have been able to recover will be included within the documentation. Now that we have our introductions out of the way, I welcome you to today's installment. Document ID 70523. Data recovered alongside the Weir-Walker armor found on Titan.
Day 0. Black skies quell storms as if they were fleeing omens. Titan's pyramid dragged hurricanes across the sky like chained gods. Deputy Commander Sloan had seen faint lightning flash from deep beneath the arcology dome, timed prior strikes and their thunder to judge the storm's movement. But as she walked outside to a flash, this time there was no thunder. It had taken Sloane most of the morning after the Guardian had left to reach the surface. Waves were overtaking the rig platform, sloshing methane across the battle-marred power suit woven into Sloane's body.
Hell.
She straightened her spine within the suit and stared at the pyramid through her HUD, watching it displace existence around it as it clawed a distorted path through the sky. CO chain zoomed toward her through a blur of flickering neon.
Moving away from us.
Shouldn't be moving at all.
Sloane turned to her ghost.
Let's get that perimeter set. The hive will come again tonight.
Before she could move, the pyramid began shedding scales from its hull. They hovered for a moment over where they'd detached and peeled away, revealing opalescent flesh. Suddenly, the pyramid emitted a wave that struck Titan, and a half-remembered tone resonated through Sloane's mind. With it, a lifetime. Every experienced moment in a slurry of vivid flashes, condensed into simultaneous chaotic anarchy, grasping at grief, joy, anger, love. Seen from where she stood, past experiences gained new perspectives. Memories best left dusted with rosy haze shrank under harsh light. Warmth, too fleeting, cold, still, ever frigid in its isolation. And something else, sifting through it all, drawing it to order, as if rearranging fractured collagic panes into a new image. She struggled to breathe, and her suit flexed against the weight of her years, splayed out across time in violating fashion. Then, just as suddenly, they were gone, faded into dreams. The sky turned black and orange like a fire screen, and thunder resonated. Sloane's body pitched forward over the platform, sinking through air, then sea. Heavy metal was swallowed whole. Consciousness faded into the black. Her experience tumbled through sharded eras of reality like an astral projection, even as she felt her feet still firmly planted in the present. A cascade of timeless scenes whirled by, like panes of life captured in glass, in an indefinite stream of consciousness. Scenes of Titan, of a vibrant seascape installation, too familiar not to be memories, not hers, but no less real. Their point of focus left Titan, dragged backwards across the lonely expanse of space to a world she'd never seen. Its seas full of vivacious promise. Its moons conceal a watcher in the sky. Its waves breed insidious appetite in the deep. There is a temptation there she craves but does not understand, unnatural and cursed. She fell again, guided, through a song, a memory, an image of a dream bent into perception like a focusing lens. Unreality coated in familiar skin, an attempt at understanding. The tower, friends and comrades, shine and grime all. A heralded return, a shadow drawn overhead. A battle delayed, returning. The tower, a time yet lived. Black shadows that would fill an empty void in the sky, extending impaling blades down into the streets. Pinning life in paralytic mockeries of contentment, a display that strangles agency. A serpent winds a path beneath the shadow and offers to guide. She remembered this happening, and that it had not yet happened.
Administrator notes.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is the Administrator, and I'll be providing analysis and additional information to Mimir's stored archives. Please know that I'll perform this analysis to the best of my current ability. These notes may contain information that is less accurate in the future. Now that these formalities are out of the way, we will be looking at the events described through logs discovered via the NPA Weir-Walker armor found on Titan. These documents give us information on Deputy Commander Sloan's time on Titan while it was taken by the Witness. This set of logs appear to start roughly at the time when the entity known as the Witness took Titan. It is unknown where exactly the Witness took Titan to, but we know from prior events that the Witness was searching it and several other celestial bodies within the solar system for information where the veil was hidden. At the beginning of these logs, Sloane notes that while there were several severe lightning storms in the area, there was a flash that was accompanied by no thunder. I think this can be safely assumed to be caused by the pyramid appearing to take Titan. Sloane then notes that they should prepare for the night as the Hive have already attacked before, and she expects another force to engage later. Sloane describes that the pyramid began shedding scales from its hull, which had been observed before. However, it is also noted that Sloane can see opalescent flesh beneath. This is strange due to the fact that this is the first report that we have seen of this flesh beneath the pyramid's sleek black hull. While there have never been reports of this naturally occurring in, on, or around a pyramid ship, I believe we have seen this before. During the Witness's attack, the Traveler hit 2 of the attacking ships with a terraforming beam. At the time of the raid that ended in the death of Nezarec, it seemed that these growths, including the Tree of Silver Wings, were somehow planted by the Traveler. Given this new information, it seems that the growths may have actually been overgrown parts of the pyramid ships themselves. This begs the question about whether the pyramid ships contain flora such as the opalescent flesh, or if part of the ship is internally constructed of this newly discovered material. The pyramid then emits a wave that strikes Titan. Sloane seems to experience many memories within her life, and it is described that she feels something sifting through them. This could be the Witness attempting to parse information from her and anything on Titan. This wave also sends Sloane falling into the methane ocean. While falling, Sloane describes tumbling through scenes too familiar not to be memories. She notes that they weren't hers, but they were no less real. It seems that Sloane was somehow experiencing memories from other entities. Next, Sloane describes her point of view leaving Titan and focusing on a planet that she had never seen. From the descriptions that were given, it seems that this is most likely Fundament around the time that the Traveler was moving to claim the Krill as the next species that it would enlighten. This could be possible if she was experiencing memories from the Leviathan within the methane ocean that was unknown to her at the time. She describes a memory that is very hard to break down. She says that she sees unreality coated in familiar skin, an attempt at understanding. This is so vague that on its own it means almost nothing. But given the next information, I think we can glean some insight into this vision. While the description is vague, I do think that the unreality coated in familiar skin is a description of Savathun within Osiris's body. This is reinforced by the description that there is an attempt at understanding. During this time, Savathun was attempting to understand the Vanguard. The next statement brings us to the tower among friends and comrades. Next, she describes a shadow drawn overhead. This could describe the endless night that the city experienced, a display that strangles agency. This is another example of the endless night, further enforcing its power over the city, stopping the Vanguard from fighting back. This could also be a description of the Black Fleet waiting to return. A serpent winds a path beneath the shadow and offers to guide. Again, this fits with Savathun walking among humanity, trying to guide us down the path that she was attempting to engineer. While this is an extremely vague and unforgiving riddle, it should be noted that my interpretation of this is just a single point of view. This could easily describe events yet to come. We will have to wait and see.
Day 3. The ghost of Titan walks on through sunless seas, having died long ago. Repulsion lattice integrity, nominal. Oxygen sieve, nominal. Depth, 106 meters. The lettering on Sloane's HUD clarified into vision. She dragged a hand through methane fluid to her faceplate, absent-mindedly trying to rub the grogginess from her eyes. Motion in the dark surrounding her kicked up clouds of fine grit. Her headlights flared as her fingertips clinked against her helmet. A thrall came screaming into the beam of light, bubbles spewing from its jaws. Sloane's eyes went wide before she reflexively flipped the thrall over her shoulder and kicked its jaw through its skull. Her power suit spooled and pushed stimulants reactively. She pivoted and caught the sword of a knight mid-swing, snapping the weapon in two between the fingers of her gauntlet and driving a shard of broken blade into its chest. Another thrall crossed her headlights just before a silver streak whistled through its throat. Sloane eyed a selection in her visor, which highlighted over 30 dead hive, slowly deteriorating in boils of tiny, rumbling ignitions that sent nerve spasms through their husks. Her visor cleared the readings and snapped onto a friendly. CO chain drifted forward, hive viscera gently wafting into the sea from the slender razors protruding from her shell.
You were out for days.
Sloane's face wrinkled in confusion.
I remember the pyramid wave. Falling. Dreams. Are you okay?
Hive found us, like you said.
CO chain said, retracting her blades. Sloane grabbed the ghost and hugged her to her power suit chassis for a moment.
Little killer. Really gave him the business.
CO chain chirped.
Pyramid wave swept over Titan, bounced around a bit, and centralized where the pyramid stopped. Gravity went crazy, then the ocean. I think we're a few miles from where we were when all this started.
The pyramid stopped. Then that's where we're headed. After we grab some gear.
Sloane said. CO chain dipped forward.
One more thing. Something's out there circling us. Not Hive. Can't quite pin it down, but it's big.
Yeah?
Sloane said, thinking of what went through her mind before she lost consciousness.
Then let's not waste any time getting out of here.
Sloane lifted herself from the ocean onto a half-submerged arcology platform where she'd stowed a variety of rations and munitions since Titan's skies went dark. Her power suit clattered against the steel mesh floor. She waited for the echoes to die down before taking a moment to exhale in silence. In that quiet moment, she made out a faint voice. CO chain rose into view.
Do you hear that?
Was about to ask you.
Sloane said, standing. She snatched first in, last out from a stow locker, racked the foregrip, then followed the voice down a barnacle-crusted causeway to an old research lab with CO chain in tow. Fluid trickled down cracked walls surrounding rows of dead monitors. Glass reflected prismatic color from a gnarled tear in reality at the lab's center, as if it had been carved from another epoch and affixed to this one. A human that didn't seem to notice them paced within the tear, standing in a fully functioning mirage of the arcology. Once he turned toward them, the tear spasmed and lurched forward and backward in time at erratic durations and speed. He was ripped both ways into non-existence as the tear flittered through events like a fourth-dimensional montage. The tear held steady again, returning the man and his moment to existence. CO chain took note of the badge on his coat that read,
Gideon Tepin, NPA, Senior Marine Biologist.
Tepin looked upset and turned away before speaking.
She's afraid, that's why we're all having them. Something's wrong. She's showing us what's coming in plain view.
The man angrily swiped his hand through the air in Sloane's direction.
It's like she's screaming it into my head. I know I'm not the only one hearing it. It chose us.
He stepped forward and placed his hand on the border between then and now.
I'm dreaming my own memories, but with little differences, little omens. Black ships in the sky.
Sloane leaned forward, hand nearly pressed to that of the living memory playing out before her on the other side of the tear.
She's trying to warn us. We should evacuate. We have to get her.
The tear lurched again, ripped away, lost to the rushing passage of time and blinked into non-existence. Gone. Sloane dropped her hand, jaw clenched.
See if you can dig up any arcology records on this. That marine biologist, Tepin, was he in some sort of captured time fluctuation? Is that even possible?
I've never seen anything like it.
CO chain said.
I'm not really sure.
CO chain skimmed archived reports.
It's under T-Leb-01. Looks like a psychic space whale some biologists were studying out in the ocean. They never got accurate measurements, but this estimate can't be correct. Over 150 meters? Report says it wasn't from here, though, and refers to a lot of visions that personnel were having, which is odd. Not a lot of alien species in Sol until after the Golden Age.
I was having dreams while I was out, Siochen, of some other world, the pyramid on Titan, the tower. Like I remembered being there for each one.
Well, I guess it could be an ancient space whale, or sometimes the traveler gives people dreams. But are we going to ignore the obvious, you were rendered unconscious by a pyramid wave explanation?
No, but we've seen enough weird not to knock it.
Sloane sighed.
Sure, I'll log that away.
Seochain said.
You know, the readings coming from inside that field Teppan was in were consistent with atmospheric records on Titan during the collapse.
What does that mean?
Sloane looked back to the spot of warped space-time.
Was he real?
I don't know. I just know it wasn't a simulation.
Administrator notes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Administrator. I'll be providing insight and analysis for today's document. At the opening of this log, we are submerged straight into the action. Sloane seems unable to move as she is being held in place by Zivu-Arath's will. Zivu-Arath claims that Sloane took without claim. This is of course a reference to the sword logic, which is centered around the belief that you may only lay claim to that which you are able to take. Of course, this extends to life itself. If one is not able to prove themselves capable of claiming existence, then their claim to existence is forfeit. Zivu-Arath is ready to claim Sloane's life as she is too weak to stop Zivu-Arath from proving her claim to existence incorrect. Zivu-Arath then calls out Shahan, taunting her that Sloane is in need of her help. Of course, this links back to the conversation between Sloane and Shahan in the last log. Sloane had told Shahan to lay low and out of battle so that she could survive if the battle got out of Sloane's control. As Zivu-Arath starts to rip and tear the power suit from Sloane's bones and body, Shahan dives in with the blades on her shell deployed. As if on cue, the Leviathan dives into the fray as well and single-handedly dispatches all of the surrounding hive. During and after the fight, Sloane is met with another telepathic message, similar to the first. Instead of requesting that Sloane takes in order to live, it requests that she bond in order to live. It is quite clear that this is the Leviathan thinking to her and offering her a telepathic bond in order to assist her with the mission. While these logs seem to jump around the timeline quite quickly, it's clear that Sloane faced many troubles in Titan's depths while the Witness was scouring it for information. We aren't exactly sure what it was looking for, but here are a few possibilities. As we saw during the fight over Neomuna, it was looking for the Veil, a paracausal object that seems to rival the power of the Traveler, although through different means. The Witness could be looking for other objects or entities it might find useful during his mission. Most notably, it could have been searching for the Leviathan Asa, which is presented here heavily. Asa has knowledge and power that has proven useful to the Vanguard as they have worked with her and Sloane on Titan. In fact, as of recent report from the Vanguard, Asa was able to reveal the origins of the Witness as well as lead us down a path to follow it through the portal opened through the Traveler. A last option would be that the Witness was looking for the body of Oryx, the Taken King. I think this is extremely unlikely given that the hive that the Guardian fought on their expedition to Titan's depths seemed to be part of Savathun's Lucent Brood, currently commanded loosely by First Ghost Imaru. This brood is completely opposing the Witness's forces. Of course, with as little information as we have available, it's hard to be sure what the true intentions of the Witness were in taking Titan for study. Luckily, the Vanguard have been able to procure more information to assist in the hunt for the Witness. As always, while most of this information is considered concrete, some of it is speculation and subject to change based on newly discovered records. It may be possible that Asa is also capable of seeing through time and communicating that as well. Of course, all information and notions within these logs should not be taken as absolute fact, but is instead an initial analysis given our current understanding of the topics. Thank you.
Day 92. Take and live. Sloane deftly maneuvered across the open ocean floor. Together with her ghost, she'd chased the pyramid's signals across Titan, but arrived too late at each coordinate site. They'd encountered nothing more than further wounds in the fabric of reality, slivered glimpses into moments held in Titan's memory. Occasionally, discarded shrieker cores littered a site, evidence of a ritual gone cold, but not so cold that Seochain couldn't detect figments of resonant residue that drove her scanners haywire. More than once, Sloane had found a clutch of disoriented Fallen scattered around these wounds, some in a stupor, most driven violently mad. Seochain said their brain patterns were fractured, synapses burnt into conflicting circuited loops, as if their collection of experiences had been dissected and left disparate and apart. But Sloane felt drawn, across the barren seafloor, to each new site shrouded in sunless shadow. Something cut through that dark, guided her, as if she drafted behind a rogue wave.
We're almost to the next site.
Let's pick it up.
The methane flowed over Sloane's armor in a slick, slipstream current that left a long tail of particulate floating in her wake, agitated by oxygen bubbles spurting from her mask. CO Chain followed close behind, sweeping the area with light beams that dissipated over vast, featureless depths.
Resonant pyramid energy, neutrino dispersals, and some kind of quantum entangling. That's the best I can make of it.
CO Chain said, razor blades deployed.
The pyramid's moving again.
The site seemed quiet on the surface. Sloane glanced over a sea cliff and tapped CO Chain, who had been leering out at the expansive of dark ocean as if she was tracking something.
You ready?
The ghost turned to Sloane and hesitantly tilted her shell into a nod. They killed their lights, allowing the bioluminescent coral around them to illuminate the path down to a newly split-open gorge infested with taken corruption. Sloane swapped her visor to a thermal targeting overlay and slipped over the edge of the chasm. Tendrils of taken malignants flowed from the split ground beneath her, dancing in the methane like noxious filaments. The fissure looked large enough for her to finagle her suit through safely. Sloane glanced over her shoulder and held up a hand to CO Chain.
Watch my back from a distance.
No. I can fight.
She bit back defiantly.
Fallen Hive and Taken are all over this sector.
Lie low on this one. If something goes wrong, it can't go wrong with you. Get me?
She landed in a small cavern where a tangle of taken threads writhed around a decrepit hive sigil of resilient witchcraft. Whispers spewed from the sigil, wrapped around her mind, coaxed her forward. She reached a hand toward the sigil, and methane burst around her like depth charges as taken blights manifested a small detachment of soldiers. Sloane spun, her fists crackling with lightning, her fingers weaving her arc light safely through the methane around her. She charged the first of 3 blights, thruster dodging incoming fire pinged by her HUD. She broke through the blight screen, planted her feet, and threw a lightning punch like a Gauss cannon, atomizing the Taken and the blight itself. Her power suit carried her fulgurate fists from hostile to hostile in rising, truculent battle fervor. When the cavern quieted, Sloane turned back to the sigil and called CO Chain down.
I can hear the Taken through this sigil thing. It's like they're broadcasting out loud. Not in words, but their proximity, like sonar. Can you tap into it?
CO Chain's concerned response was muffled by an intrusive thought echoing from somewhere far off, circling the sea around her and draining off into her mind. Sloane thought of the ocean shelves crawling with the pyramid's minions, their rituals and corruption sinking deeper into Titan's mantle by the day, of the armies they threatened to summon, of what they searched for in the deep. She thought of the fallen who had no way to flee, shocked into madness by the reality-wounding waves that swept over Titan like a gray matter line, a terminator of experience via suspension within it. With this foreknowledge of her enemy's plans, maybe she could be a step ahead of dusk. Sloane stepped forward, dazed, her mind drowning in the ocean's dangers, and gripped the sigil. The rippling Taken energy immediately backfired in a blinding burst of energy.
No!
CO Chain dove forward in horror as Taken tendrils twisted around Sloane's armor and dragged her to the ground.
Sloane!
As tendrils buried themselves into her flesh, Sloane heard a new voice, clear as sirens in a storm.
Warrior of the Sky, you are known to me. I accept your challenge.
Administrator notes.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you are new, I am the Administrator. These notes serve to summarize and provide any additional insight to the logs within this document. Without further ado, let's begin. As Sloane and Shahan follow the pyramid across Titan, they find Fallen driven insane. Shahan remarks that their brain patterns were fractured. Could these be caused by the same dreams that Sloane experienced during the descent, or by something else? Shahan notes that it seems that their experiences had been dissected. I believe that we saw part of this just before Sloane's descent, and that this may have been caused by the witness attempting to parse information from every living thing on Titan through their own memories. Sloane and Shahan continue their pursuit of the pyramid, and in its wake they stumble across the hive sigil. As Sloane reaches to inspect the sigil, she is caught off guard by an ambush. After fighting off the Taken, she calls Shahan down to inspect the sigil. Sloane states that she can hear the Taken through it, like a sonar, As Shahan expresses her concern, Sloane experiences what she describes as an intrusive thought. While I initially thought that this would be the voice of the witness or Xivu Arath attempting to influence her into touching the sigil, within one of the later logs we will see that this is not the case. Sloane gives into the thoughts as she concludes that with foreknowledge of the Taken Force's positions, she may be able to fight back more effectively. As Sloane grasps the sigil, she hears what we can conclude is Xivu Arath accepting her challenge, which is certainly different than the voice she had heard earlier. This short log focuses on a few pieces of information. Firstly, it focuses on how Sloane was infected with the Taken Blight. We're still unsure exactly how she is unable to be taken completely. Sloane herself seems to think that this is due to her light. However, it is also possible that this is in part due to the nature of taking and the darkness as a whole. The darkness as a natural force is more concerned with allowing those that prove their place in the universe to continue existing. If Xivu Arath is attempting to take Sloane, it could be said that Sloane's will alone may give her the edge enough to fight off the Taken infection. As well, within this log we get context into what it may have been like for non-Lightbearers in the worlds taken by the Witness. It seems that the Witness's search has left their synapses burnt into conflicting loops. As well, most of them have become overly aggressive. Of course, all information presented here is subject to change, as more knowledge is gathered about the events detailed.
Day 287. A rising pressure signaling imminent danger.
There's nothing to hide behind.
Sloane laughed sardonically over comms, annoyance building in her voice. She made a point of spinning in the empty, expansive ocean, exoskeleton-encased arms out wide, before turning to her ghost. They'd been walking through desolate nothingness for days, tracking the next site.
We need to keep hitting them.
It's been over a year of chasing pyramid waves, of the blight. You're getting worse.
Shuhan's shell cut like fins through the methane.
And there is something out there. It's been trailing us, or ahead of us.
I know, it's something old.
Sloane's voice was flat.
I told you, I think it's been talking to me, or more like thinking at me.
Silence hung over them for a moment before being swept away by the current.
Oh, is it now? Care to share more about that?
The ghost asked with restrained frustration.
Whatever's out there, I think it's guiding us. Or trying to see if it can trust us, if we're compatible.
Oh, that's good and vague.
Shuhan hissed.
You're sure that's what it wants? Because we have a hive god chasing us. We don't have the luxury of guessing wrong.
It's just a feeling, not really my thing, but my gut tells me it's well-intentioned. Xivu Arath, on the other hand.
Shuhan dropped onto the seafloor sand.
That's what we've been following. Your gut? You think you can charge into fight after fight on a feeling and keep walking away?
Isn't that the idea? I'm effectively immortal.
Sloane stopped, turned, and shook her head.
The suit's wearing. Rations are... Look, we need to finish the mission while I'm still in fighting condition.
Titan's gone, Sloane.
Shuhan rose and drifted past her.
What happens if you die somewhere too dark to drag you back? Have you considered that?
This coming from the gung-ho ghost, taking on the whole hive army with a set of shaving razors.
Sloane chuckled to herself.
Seriously, are you expecting to live through whatever this is?
No,
Shuhan said meekly.
I hoped you would.
The firm lines of Sloane's expression crumbled for an instant. This was unlike them. She shut her visor, cleared her throat, and turned to continue marching.
No more fighting for you. That's an order.
But I was saying that to you.
The ghost zipped forward.
Hey, don't walk away from me.
Sloane stopped. The heavy metal around her boots sank into the silty sea floor.
I'm not... There's nowhere to walk away to. That's my point.
Sloane jabbed a finger at her ghost.
I'm not starving to death for an eternity just to turn out like the psycho that runs Gambit. If I even make it that far. But you don't have to worry about that. Let me be useful while I can. Then move on when it's over.
Shuhan whirred in thought for a moment.
I don't want to make it without you.
We don't get to choose that.
Sloane straightened her stance.
If you can't take it when it hits you, you go out and hit it before it gets started.
Sloane raised her visor and met Shuhan's stare.
That's the best plan I have while I'm still walking. You have a better one?
No.
Then let's get to work.
Administrator notes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another Administrator log. This log was recovered alongside the NPA Weir-Walker leg armor from Titan. This log opens with Sloane and Shahan continuing their pursuit of the pyramid ship. It's been almost a year since Sloane's descent into the depths, and they have nothing to show for it. Sloane explains that she has been in some form of contact with the Leviathan that has been tracking them all this time. She states that it's old, and that it has been thinking at her. Shahan doesn't seem satisfied with Sloane's gut feeling that the Leviathan is more or less friendly, and she urges Sloane to be careful, seeing as Izzy-Wrath is hot on the tail. Sloane tells Shahan that the suit is wearing out and that their rations are running thin. Sloane and Shahan have an argument about continuing the fight on Titan, with Shahan believing that it's a lost cause. Sloane is convinced that she needs to continue fighting, and tells Shahan that she is not allowed to fight anymore in case something goes wrong. This seems partially as though Sloane is benching Shahan so that she can revive her if she needs it. On the other hand, there is a dynamic that is shared between them that obviously demonstrates that Sloane cares for Shahan far more than we might initially imagine. They seem to share a bond that is inexpressible. It seems that we've caught a break in the action on Titan with a heartfelt conversation between Sloane and Shahan. There is almost no reveal of new information within this log, and it seems to focus mostly on how the long-term fight and isolation is affecting the relationship between Sloane and Shahan. Luckily, Sloane and Shahan both seem to have an attitude that does not let them back down from any task or mission.
Day 402. You wear my banner. Shivu Arath, Hive God of War. Sloane knelt, unable to stand. All the weight of Titan's ocean around her was nothing compared to the pressure of Shivu Arath's will pinning her down. A horde of gnashing hive bore lipless smiles around a single taken knight. He stood tall before her, brandishing a gleaming blade that anchored an oppressive terrace of sharpened obsidian. The terrace loomed over their heads. A voice cut through the gnashing, eager-toned like running blood.
Soldier of the sky, your strength wanes, your strategy too obvious. You took without claim, and now I claim you. The sky, drawn to fall once more, pinned by night's blade. Summon your meager light, your sky tether. You are defeated.
Shivu's voice rose from her projection, booming from the black terrace with laughter like screaming fear.
Your bearer needs you, Ghost. Be brave.
Sloane felt needles of intent thread between the gaps in her armor, hook into her muscles, and slowly peel away the power suit's deep-set rivets from inset bone. A violent unraveling to a slow and painful end. Shiohan watched the torture from rocky concealment, razors extended, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Minutes felt like hours, but Sloane clung to life in a cloud of crimson-tinged mist. Delirium and agony fogged Sloane's mind, but an offer pierced through the cacophony of war. She heard it in her mind as if she had thought it herself. A broken promise.
Bond. Live.
She considered the offer. Shiohan rushed forward, unwilling to watch any longer, and whirled through a swarm of thrall with her blades. If she could reach Sloane, if she could just cut her free. Shivu Arath shrieked with whetted laughter.
This morsel is mine to consume.
Lances of pure onyx thrust through the sea to impale the little light. The terrace bulged and surged forward, swelling as if to burst. For a moment, Shiohan believed Shivu Arath would burst through the black terrace herself, wielding a blade in corporeal hand. War's presence emanated with such strength. Instead, a gargantuan serpent crashed through the projection and snatched the knight into its cavernous jaws as it surged by, shattering the terrace's connection to the night. Eruptions of soul fire swallowed the terrace and branched through the methane as the projection imploded on itself. The serpent dove, its enormous form overtaking and dwarfing the crumbling terrace projection. It twisted above them, unfurling a portion of its tail to sweep aside scores of hive with ease and sending plumes of sediment into a thick, obfuscating fog. Sloane collapsed, and Shiohan rushed to her side, cutting through an acolyte before it could raise its shredder.
We need to go. Get up.
Shiohan exclaimed, and began stitching Sloane's gushing wounds and mending bones where she could. All around them, the hive fired wildly into the sea, the soulfire pops of their deaths spurring tiny, muted explosions as it reacted with liquid methane. Before Shiohan could get Sloane to her feet, the serpent slammed down in front of them, belly first, and shielded them from retaliatory hive salvos. Shiohan darted in front of Sloane, razors ready against this giant beast. But the serpent simply looked at the Titan, its massive eyes spanning more than 3 of her, shoulder to shoulder. Once more, Sloane heard the promise in her mind.
Bond. Live.
And so they struck an accord.
Administrator notes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the Administrator. I'll be providing insight and analysis for today's document. At the opening of this log, we are submerged straight into the action. Sloane seems unable to move as she is being held in place by Zivu-Arath's will. Zivu-Arath claims that Sloane took without claim. This is of course a reference to the sword logic, which is centered around the belief that you may only lay claim to that which you are able to take. Of course, this extends to life itself. If one is not able to prove themselves capable of claiming existence, then their claim to existence is forfeit. Zivu-Arath is ready to claim Sloane's life as she is too weak to stop Zivu-Arath from proving her claim to existence incorrect. Zivu-Arath then calls out Shahan, taunting her that Sloane is in need of her help. Of course, this links back to the conversation between Sloane and Shahan in the last log. Sloane had told Shahan to lay low and out of battle so that she could survive if the battle got out of Sloane's control. As Zivu-Arath starts to rip and tear the power suit from Sloane's bones and body, Shahan dives in with the blades on her shell deployed. As if on cue, the Leviathan dives into the fray as well and single-handedly dispatches all of the surrounding hive. During and after the fight, Sloane is met with another telepathic message, similar to the first. Instead of requesting that Sloane takes in order to live, it requests that she bond in order to live. It is quite clear that this is the Leviathan thinking to her and offering her a telepathic bond in order to assist her with the mission. While these logs seem to jump around the timeline quite quickly, it's clear that Sloane faced many troubles in Titan's depths while the Witness was scouring it for information. We aren't exactly sure what it was looking for, but here are a few possibilities. As we saw during the fight over Neomuna, it was looking for the Veil, a paracausal object that seems to rival the power of the Traveler, although through different means. The Witness could be looking for other objects or entities it might find useful during his mission. Most notably, it could have been searching for the Leviathan Asa, which is presented here heavily. Asa has knowledge and power that has proven useful to the Vanguard as they have worked with her and Sloane on Titan. In fact, as of recent report from the Vanguard, Asa was able to reveal the origins of the Witness as well as lead us down a path to follow it through the portal opened through the Traveler. A last option would be that the Witness was looking for the body of Oryx, the Taken King. I think this is extremely unlikely given that the hive that the Guardian fought on their expedition to Titan's depths seemed to be part of Savathun's Lucent Brood, currently commanded loosely by First Ghost Imaru. This brood is completely opposing the Witness's forces. Of course, with as little information as we have available, it's hard to be sure what the true intentions of the Witness were in taking Titan for study. Luckily, the Vanguard have been able to procure more information to assist in the hunt for the Witness. As always, while most of this information is considered concrete, some of it is speculation and subject to change based on newly discovered records.
End of Administrator log. Thank you for viewing this archive, Guardian. Please check back regularly as more documents will be released in due time. If you have anything to note, please leave your own log in the comments below. All input is appreciated.